Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Common Denominator. Real quick video here. Issa Rae on being called white. She talks to Charlamagne of The Breakfast Club. Listen in and I'll come back with commentary.
Kind of a love letter to the parts of LA where I grew up.
Because I asked that because I read an essence where you said growing up they used to treat you like a white girl or tease you for talking white.
Yeah, I mean, I was born here, and then, you know, gangs were like getting really big, so my dad moved my older brothers and the entire family to Senegal, and, you know, spent time there. And then he lost a lot. He tried to open up a hospital out there, and then the government screwed him over, so he lost all his money. So we ended up moving to Maryland, and he tried to start over in LA. And Maryland, you know, it was Potomac, Maryland. There weren't that many black people. All the schools that I was in.
Oh, like the Real Housewives of Potomac.
Which I didn't. I didn't know that it was an neighborhood. I didn't know it was an affluent neighborhood because we weren't affluent at all. We were renting houses. We were washing paper plates. But that's another story. But yeah, I was I was always the only black girl, or one of two, and didn't really notice it. I was just, you know, there were lots of cultures. I had Asian friends, Indian friends, whatever. And then when I moved to LA, like 5 years later, that's when I realized, oh, I don't talk like everybody else. And they called me out for it. And my hair is natural when everybody else's hair was pressed. So people just, those traits made me white. And that was something that always stood out to me. And it's the material that I use in a lot of my work today, just feeling like an outsider. And then feeling like I wasn't black enough, but I'm like, like, I'm obviously black, and there are no definitions or limitations to what blackness is.
Yeah, I always hate it when people say, "Oh, you sound white," because it's like, what does that mean? Like,
what does that mean?
Does that mean we sound educated? We don't sound educated, and they do. Like, what are you talking about?
Exactly, which is so problematic anyway, because it's like we're just speaking properly at the end of the day, and anything that's negative shouldn't be associated with blackness. That doesn't make any sense.
So did you start acting out because of that? Like when you got to LA, you sound like a white girl. Did you just start like using slang on purpose? That's how you started rapping in the mirror, right?
You know what's crazy is I started dumbing myself down on purpose. Like,
all right, so nothing new here. Same story, different black person being abused by the ghetto police, being abused by the Black American Vortex. What happens with people whose parents are foreigners or whose parents are even American, but they raise them in a different community because they want to get away from the ghetto. I mean, no one wants to live in the ghetto, not even black people. But what happens is once they get back to that ghetto environment, or they start hanging around people who have been raised in the ghetto, some of the most ignorant black people that you can imagine. They say some of the most ignorant things. They act in some of the most unbelievably ignorant ways, and they are an embarrassment, to be honest. I've talked about these things a few times on my channel. You'll see several videos, actually. I think I have at least 3 or 4 videos where I talk about this phenomena that honestly not just happens in the black community, but happens in other immigrant communities, or minority communities, I should say. Her parents were immigrants, or her dad at least was an immigrant. So yeah, there's this profound ignorance that we have, where if a black person in the black community, and this is what I call shooting yourself in the foot, actually both feet, really. You have a person who is speaking English and trying to do well for herself, and all of a sudden she's acting white, or she's being white. And then this poor thing, you know, she's in LA, and you know, LA is a giant, in my opinion. The black community is just a giant ghetto, in my opinion. There are some nice places, some nice black communities where it's a little bit more upper class and they don't really tolerate that sort of nonsense. I hear Ladera Heights is one of those places, but LA is just a giant extension of the hip hop community. That's it. That's all it is. That's essentially what your black community is. The extension of hip hop. It's like living in a music video or something, or it's just dysfunction, just utter dysfunction. You know, the hooked on phonics crowd. So one of the couple of things that caught my ear was, my eye too, was the natural hair comment. She said that she had come from Maryland and she had natural hair, and that was different, so it was considered white. And I'm just thinking to myself, and then she says the other people had pressed hair, and these are the people standing in judgment. Just think about how ludicrous that sounds. I mean, this is a problem in the black community. We are living amongst morons, certifiable idiots. We have people that will try to drag a person down into the filth when their parents did such a great job of raising them outside of the filth. They'll try to drag them back and shame them for speaking English. Okay? These dysfunction junkies, they're just hooked on dysfunction, hooked on phonics, and it really just burns me up inside, man, because this is one of the number one problems with the black community. If we could get past this, if we could get past living out the hip hop fantasy, living out the gangster rap culture, if we could get past this, we could become so much greater. But it's just so ironic. The painful irony is how the culture that we created, the hip hop music and this and that, and the culture that was created for us due to circumstances, slavery, Jim Crow, lack of education, everything that comes with it, is now our worst enemy in terms of success. Instead of us building, starting companies, becoming great, we're trying to drag everyone down into this semi-slavery, into this, this slavery outhouse, slave talk, slave behavior, dysfunction. I really don't know how we're going to get over this, but we have to. I mean, we literally have to. This is disgusting. People are being harmed by this. Parents, see, and parents, even ghetto parents know better, but to an extent, they kind of tolerate the ghetto and the ghetto culture to an extent. But anyway, I'm common denominator. I'm out. Let me know your thoughts. Peace.